My name's Michelle and welcome to the Masterclass this evening. I'm just letting everybody settle in, and if you could test the comments, say hi. We've got lots of people joining us now. Welcome. And we're in Sydney tonight. It's getting cold here. We want to get started, and this masterclass is officially started now. So good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining us this evening. I'm Michelle, as I mentioned. I'll be your host for tonight for this weight loss masterclass, and it's titled Weight Loss That Has Nothing to Do with Restrictive Eating, Burning Calories, or Fighting Cravings. Sounds amazing. Tonight's masterclass is going to be very, very special. We thank the support of Northern Beaches Mums for hosting our Facebook Live tonight. And if you're joining us on replay, we welcome you too. So you've joined this session for a reason, and it's because you may have been struggling for quite some time. You may have been getting stuck, and despite seemingly doing all of the right things, you may not be getting any traction really on your weight loss journey. So I ask, let's dedicate tonight to spending time on learning something new for you. So turn off your mobile phones or turn it on silent, close any other tabs and grab a pen and paper. Now, without further ado, let me introduce you to our speaker for tonight, Dr. Angela Kwong. Dr. Angela is a general practitioner based in Sydney, and Angela has a special interest in medically supervised weight loss. She is only one of 19 GPs in Australia with SCOPE certification from the World Obesity Federation. She has combined this knowledge along with her experiences in general practice to create Enlighten Me, a medically supervised weight loss program. Welcome, Dr. Angela.
Thank you, Michelle. Good evening, and thank you to everyone who's joining us tonight. As Michelle said, I'm a GP with a special interest in medically supervised weight loss, and tonight you're in for a treat. Whilst this is the 7th time that I've run one of these weight loss masterclasses, I always rewrite each one from scratch because the fundamentals are the same, of course, and I'll definitely be sharing those. I have some exciting new cases that I'll be sharing that are going to demonstrate the way that I approach the patient, the assessment and the management when it comes to weight loss from a general practice perspective. So you're going to get a bird's eye view and a few tips and tricks along the way, and you'll be able to relate this to your own situation and create your own weight loss plan. Now, I'm curious, I see a lot of patients, Michelle, and a lot of them tell me about all of these different types of techniques that they use when it comes to losing weight. And I'm also curious with you in the audience, what have you tried when it comes to losing weight? Some of the things that I can think of that patients tell me are, they might be tracking their intake on an app on their phone, or they might have started to see a personal trainer and get into a routine, or they might start skipping their meals or doing some intermittent fasting. Can you start typing in the comments some of the different techniques that you might have tried or that you might have heard of to try to lose weight? So what are some of the simple things that you might have tried that may or may not have worked in the past? I'm really interested in what some of the things that you've tried before. And Michelle, what are some of the things that you've heard about to try to lose weight?
Certainly intermittent fasting has become very popular. Often people will skip meals to reduce calories, getting a personal trainer to really focus on trying to get those fitness goals, all of those things. We've got lots of people in the comments here now. Narelle has tried keto. We've got fasting, drinking 3 liters of water, walking every day, long cardio sessions, HIIT, absolutely. It looks like people have tried quite a few things, Angela, definitely.
Yeah. Some of the other things that I've heard about people trying are being prescribed meal plans, even trying a weight loss medication or getting some things over the counter like appetite suppressants, trying different types of diet, whether they are low in carbs or low in fat, or joining a coaching type program. Mm-hmm. Chris here has mentioned Weight Watchers, for example, or increasing their exercise or skipping their meals. There's lots of different types of techniques that can be used. And I think that broadly speaking, these fit into two different categories, which is eating less and moving more. And I'm not here to say that eating less and moving more doesn't work, but eating less and moving more may not be enough if there are underlying root causes, like there are medical factors that need to be addressed for weight loss to occur. So you can think of this as one step forward and yet two steps back. So let me use a case to illustrate this point. I'll tell you about patient number one. So patient number one was a mum of two who came to see me, and she'd been trying to lose weight for a very, very long time. She was in her 40s and her starting weight was 97 kilos. She had a waist circumference of 105 centimeters and she had back surgery before. And she said to me, I never, ever, ever want to have to do that ever again. And she was also feeling tired all the time. She was working full time and also looking after two little ones. And she went to go and see her GP to try and get some advice on how to lose weight. And they said, just watch what you eat. And in the past, she had been able to lose weight just by doing weights-based training, but this wasn't working for her anymore. And she told me that she needed support and accountability. And she did have a very supportive partner, but he had the opposite metabolism. And she was also looking for the right information. She'd gone and had a body scan done, and it told her that she had increased visceral fat. And she said, okay, now what do I do with this information in order to lose weight? So we talked about her goals, and she wanted to lose 5 to 10% of her weight initially, with an ultimate goal of getting down to 78 kilos. But that's just a numbers goal. What was really important to her was to be able to live an active lifestyle and not feel tired all the time. So she told me that she wanted to go to Italy and walk the mountains and not feel like she's carrying that extra bag of oranges all the time. So I'm going to ask you here in the audience to type yes or no into the comments. Do you think that this lady, who's starting at 97 kilos and has a goal of getting down to 78 kilos, is going to be able to achieve her goal by eating less and moving more, by doing some of these techniques that we've just talked about? Do you think that she's going to be able to achieve her goal? And I'll get you to type yes or no, and let's see what we're coming up with in the audience.
Let's have a look in the comments there. What do we think? Is she able to do that? Do you know, it's interesting, Angela, while we're getting a few people to comment there, when you mentioned that the person's partner had the opposite metabolism, makes it really difficult, doesn't it? In the family home with family meals and those types of things, it makes it really difficult. Well, thank you for those people commenting. We've got quite a few no's. We've got a yes coming through. So it's a mixed bag here, Angela.
Yeah, from what I can see in the comments, we've got about 80% no's and about 20% yes. So let's continue her story. So she also had a family history of thyroid disease, and during her pregnancy, she also had a history of gestational diabetes. And she also said that when she felt stressed, then she had a tendency to overeating. And this is what she would typically have in her 24-hour food diary. So for breakfast, she would have cereal, scrambled eggs and bacon. For breakfast, for morning tea, she would have a cup of tea with milk and sugar. For lunch, she would have a salad with couscous and quinoa. For afternoon tea, she would just have a cup of tea. And then for dinner, she would have a stir fry or a steak sandwich. And for exercise, she would go walking every day, and sometimes she would try to go running in the morning when time would permit. So what I did for this patient was I tried to address her root cause for her weight gain, which in her case was clearly insulin resistance. And we did this by multiple methods. The first thing that we did was I started a medication to kickstart the process to treat the insulin resistance. The second thing that I did was I taught her how to adjust her protein intake. So I've just told you exactly what she eats in a 24-hour period, and what that included was 82 grams of protein. And what she actually needed was 115 grams of protein in order to manage her cravings, fire up her metabolism, and provide enough fuel for her muscles to be able to train properly. And as a side note here, protein is very important, but it's not always a case of more protein. You know, a lot of people say you need to eat more protein, but how much is more? Is it just an extra protein bar? Is it an extra piece of meat? It's actually a very specific amount that's calculated, that's based on your starting weight, your goal weight, and a few other factors such as your kidney function. So that's one of the techniques that I use to help patients achieve their weight loss. The other thing that I did for her was I taught her how to approach her intake of carbohydrates so that she can manage her insulin resistance in the long term. And just as a side note, my approach is not zero carb or low carb or keto. The only thing that I teach my patients to do is to be clever with their carbohydrates, because the only thing that's important is to avoid spikes in your insulin levels. But that is a whole separate masterclass in itself. So she enrolled in Enlighten Me and came to see me every week for coaching and support and accountability, and learned from myself and the nutritionist, and came to live exercise classes with myself and the physiotherapist. And this is what I mean by medically supervised weight loss. So it isn't just seeing a doctor and getting a prescription for a weight loss medication, hoping for the best. Because of course, when you're taking the medication, the weight will definitely come off. But then as soon as you stop taking the medication, the weight will come back on. So there needs to be a plan to address the underlying factors for the weight gain in the first place that are contributing to your weight gain. So what I consider medically supervised weight loss to be is being under the care of a doctor who is going to assess your medical situation and looking at the factors that are affecting your weight, reviewing your medications and using a medication to kickstart the process if that's necessary, making recommendations for your diet that are going to be lifelong, and supporting you to implement long-term changes so that you can maintain your weight loss in the long term, even when the medication is ceased. So you might be thinking right now, how can you, as a non-medical person, determine if you have factors that affect your weight? Well, I've made it easy for you. I've created something called the Weight Assessment Tool, and it's titled What to Do When Nothing Else Has Worked. And Michelle is going to drop a link to this into the comments below so that you can download a copy. And I'll show you what it looks like just now. So this is what it looks like. It is a 2-page PDF, which you can download. And we're going to do it together as an exercise just now so that you can figure out what the factors are that affect your weight in your case. So I'll get you to get out that pen and paper and write down yes or no to the following 10 questions that I'll read out to you. So the first question is, are my family members overweight or obese? You can write down yes or no. The second question is, are my family members prone to weight gain or overeating? Question 3, do I have medical conditions that contribute to weight gain? Question 4, am I taking medications that contribute to weight gain? Question 5, do I have a tendency to overeat when stressed? Question 6, do I have any current or past mental health issues? Question 7, can I ignore all of the mixed messaging, marketing, and promotion of unhealthy foods? Question 8, can I increase my planned and incidental exercise? Question 9, can I make healthier food choices? And question 10, do my natural hunger signals get overridden, like eating for distraction or overeating together? Now we can have a look at where your answers lie. So on the second page of the weight assessment tool, I have a pie chart just here. And what you will see is that the blue section just here represents genetics. And what this shows is that genetics represent about 50% of the factors that affect our weight. And obviously we can't change our genes, and this is absolutely outside of our control. But we can look to your family history to see if there is a tendency to obesity or if there is a tendency to insulin resistance. Now, when it comes to medical factors, which is the purple one just here, we can consider whether you might have an underactive thyroid or whether you have any untreated obstructive sleep apnea. We might also have a look at your medications and see if there are any there that are causing weight gain and make any suggestions for any weight neutral alternatives. When it comes to the pink one, psychological factors, we might see whether you need to have any psychological supports put in place. When it comes to the orange one, environmental factors, we would help you identify and navigate any challenges in your environment. And then that leaves us with the last piece of the pie, the very, very small portion here called the behavioral factors. And it's a bit hard to see, but I'll read out what I've written underneath, which says, focus on factors that are within your control. And what I want to illustrate here is that up until now, you've probably been just focusing on behavioral factors, i.e., eating less and moving more. So this has been within your control. You have been able to exercise more. You have been able to change your diet, but you may not have considered all of these other factors that are affecting your weight. And I feel that in order for your weight loss plan to be truly successful, you need to put all of these things into consideration when making your weight loss plan to move forward. So hopefully you can download a copy of that weight assessment tool and have a think about that when you're creating your weight loss plan. Now, do we have any questions so far from the audience, Michelle?
I don't think we've got any questions, but the weight loss assessment tool is definitely in the chat there, so everybody can download that.
Great, thank
Definitely.
you. Well, I'll give everyone a heads up on how patient one is coming along. I saw her a couple of weeks ago and she told me that she has more energy and her mindset has changed. She mentioned that she feels less bloated and she also is enjoying eating more healthy and quality food. Now let's also tell them about another case study, Michelle. I'll tell you about patient number 2. So patient 2 is a lady who was in her 60s and she had been stuck for a very, very long time. So her starting weight was 77 kilos and that put her in a BMI of 32, which was actually obese for her height. And she told me that she would dearly love to lose 8 kilos, and as soon as she could lose 8 kilos, she would be able to maintain her weight herself. She was just really, really stuck and she just couldn't lose that 8 kilos herself. Now, she wasn't actually stuck for a lack of trying. Let me tell you exactly what she was doing. So she was doing a 5-kilometer park walk each week and joining a walking group twice a week and doing squats and sit-ups and band work and also doing swimming. And she also ate reasonably healthy food. She tracked her intake on an app, but it was hard at home because her hubby was a chocoholic, even though he was very slim. So again, the opposite metabolism. So she told me, I had been 67 kilos for many, many years and very comfortable. And clothes fitted me very, very well, and I could easily pick clothes off the rack. And I miss that. And I know that once I get started, I can maintain it myself. I just can't seem to get started. So what I did for this patient was I looked at the way that menopause had changed her metabolism. I also had a look at the way that all of the good things that she had been doing had actually affected her body weight set point. I helped her change her protein intake to manage her cravings, and she also enrolled in Enlighten Me and came to nutrition coaching and live exercise class every week. So she's now 66 kilos, which represents 14.2% weight loss, which has surpassed her initial goal. But of course, it's not all about the numbers. A goal that she shared with me was that she was hoping to reduce some of her medications, and she has also achieved that. She started off taking 2 tablets for her blood pressure, and now she's only taking half a tablet of 1. And she's very, very happy with this. And she recently went shopping to buy new clothes, and she found it very enjoyable to just buy the clothes off the rack, something that she has avoided doing for a very long time. Now, what is very interesting to me about patient number 2 is exactly where her weight loss is coming from. So let me show you a graph that I recently showed the members inside my free community group, Medical Weight Loss for Australians, and Michelle can drop a link to that group inside the comments now. So this is a graph by Franz and colleagues from 2007, and I'll just hold it up to the camera right now. It's a little bit hard to see, but I'll describe it to you. So on the horizontal axis, we've got time. So we've got what happens over 6 months, 12 months, whoops,
Bit more, there you go.
6 months, 12 months, 24 months, and 36 months. And here on the vertical axis, we've got the amount of weight loss. So this is the 0 starting point, 2 kilos, 4 kilos, 6 kilos, etc., all the way down to 20 kilos. And what you can see here, this top line represents advice alone. So when you go to see someone for weight loss advice and they say, oh, you know, it's as easy as eating less and moving more, that actually achieves nothing. So you can see right here, the graph is completely flat. Nothing happens in the short term or in the long term. Now, the other one that's really exciting is this yellow line just here. So this one represents exercise alone. And what you can see is that at the 6-month mark, you can lose about 2 kilos and then there is some regain. When it comes to diet alone, which is represented by the blue mark, by the 6-month mark, you can lose about 4 kilos and then there is a little bit of regain. And then when you combine two together, diet and exercise, you can lose the most. So that's my favorite line. That's the line in green just here, where by the 6-month mark, you can lose almost 8 kilos, which is more than diet or exercise alone. And then there is a little bit of regain, but you can mostly keep the weight off. So I think that this is really interesting because it means that when you combine techniques together, you can lose more weight than one technique alone. And the second thing that's important is that if you can maintain diet and exercise consistently, then you'll be able to maintain the weight loss in the long term, just with a little bit of regain. So those are the lessons that I wanted to show you from that graph. The other thing that I wanted to show you was that I've been doing Enlighten Me since November now, so I only have a short time of data. I don't have 48 months like friends and colleagues, but I wanted to show you where some of my patients are up to in terms of their weight loss journey. So here is where some of my patients are up to so far. So here is the 16-week mark. And as you can see, the Enlighten Me patients are represented by the stars just here, and they're doing very, very well. And I think that it's because of the combination of techniques that we're doing. So the first thing that we're doing is we are managing the body weight set point. We're also correcting their protein intake and fueling the body with the right nutrition. We're keeping them accountable and supported every week, and we're exercising together in a supportive community. So that brings me to the different types of programs that I offer. I have Enlighten Me Coaching, which is a 16-week medically supervised weight loss program that is for Australians who have tried all of the usual methods and yet not been able to successfully lose weight and keep it off. And in that program, you get access to the Enlighten Me Content Hub, which provides learning materials on weight loss that is going to set you up for weight loss success and weight maintenance. And this includes information on the science around weight loss, how to manage setbacks, your mental health, sleep management, and more. And you also come to weekly group coaching calls. So I see you every week with Bo the nutritionist, and we teach you how to understand food labels, how to achieve a balanced diet, how to correct your protein intake, and we get all of your questions answered every week. And you also come to live exercise classes with Gavin the physiotherapist. So we exercise together on Zoom. We do a specific circuit exercise that is fun, time efficient, and doesn't require any equipment. So you'll be able to get all of your exercise questions answered and feel supported and be kept accountable. Now, the entire program is delivered online so that anybody in Australia can access compassionate, quality care from the comfort of your own home. And for those of you who do need a weight loss GP to help you determine the root cause in your case, to manage this and to also organize your weight management, you can enroll in Enlighten Me, which has everything that's included in Enlighten Me coaching, along with 6 telehealth consultations with me as your weight loss GP.
So Angela, what are the next steps for those people that are interested in these 2 programs?
Yes, so the next step would be to book in a weight loss breakthrough call.
Mm-hmm.
So Michelle can drop a link to the weight loss breakthrough call in the comments, and it is a free 45-minute phone call where we will talk about your past medical history and what you've tried to do in the past to lose weight. And I will assess you and let you know the next best steps for you going forward. Now, if you're a good fit for either of the programs, I will let you know and extend an invitation, but there's no obligation to join. Now, I've cleared out my calendar for the next 4 days. Today's Wednesday, and I've got times available early, late, and on the weekends. So for the next 4 days, there's plenty of availability for everyone to have a chance to have a call. And for those of you who are watching on the replay, I also have limited spots available each week as well. So do book a call and do book one soon. And I look forward to be able to help assess you and help you figure out the next best steps. Now let's get some questions answered. What have we got here in the comments so far?
Yeah, we do have a question here. So can you talk about the impact of perimenopause and menopause on
Definitely.
weight?
This is a really common question that I get in all of the weight loss masterclasses. So when it comes to menopause and perimenopause, there are so many changes that happen in your metabolism that contribute to weight gain. So first of all, let's talk about the hormonal changes that happen during peri to post menopause. Before you have menopause, your estrogen levels start up here and they end up down here. And it would be really nice if it was a really smooth journey and they went down like this, but unfortunately that's not the case. What actually happens is that it's a very haphazard journey, and every time that your estrogen levels crash, that is when you're going to have a lot of symptoms. So that's when you're going to have hot flushes, irritability, feeling like there's ants crawling on your skin, feeling short-tempered or more impatient or really emotional. And also, during that time period, there are going to be changes in your metabolism as well. So during that time period, you can also have accelerated weight gain, increased insulin resistance, a changeover where you have increased subcutaneous fat, particularly around the center of the body, decreased muscle mass and decreased bone density as well. And when we talk about the increased subcutaneous fat, a lot of women will find that their arms and legs are the same size and the same shape, but they'll find that their breasts get bigger, and they'll also find that they get more subcutaneous fat around the belly. So they'll find that they'll need to get new bras, and they'll find that they can't do up their pants as well. So there are a lot of metabolic changes that happen around the perimenopausal period that can make it a huge challenge. The other thing that is often under-recognized is that the perimenopausal period is far longer than people realize. So a lot of times women think that perimenopause is just the 12 months before your periods officially stop. But in actual fact, when you think back to when you went through those changes, so when you went through those hot flushes and when you went through that irritability, you'll realize that it probably extended for a lot longer than you think. So it probably went for 4 or 5 years. And that also means that it was during that period that you went through a lot of those metabolic changes as well. So it makes sense that that was that time period that you went through a lot of accelerated weight gain. So despite all of the things that you're doing, despite all of the eating less and despite all of the moving more, you may have continued to gain weight, or you may have actually achieved weight maintenance, and that may have been quite an achievement despite all of the changes in your metabolism. So some of you might have been quite hard on yourself that you weren't actually able to achieve weight loss, when in fact the odds were stacked up against you in the very beginning due to all of the hormonal changes in perimenopause. And for you to be able to achieve a small amount of weight loss or to be able to achieve weight maintenance during that very difficult time was actually quite a significant achievement.
Yeah, Angela, we've got a question here just about family genetics. We've got, a mother who's overeating and probably the bigger influence, remaining family members all fit and healthy. How do you assess that with your weight assessment tool? This is a really great question, probably for a breakthrough call, to have a chat with you about that, because I think you could probably go into a lot more detail, can't you?
Definitely. I would love for you to go ahead and book a weight loss breakthrough call so I can discuss that in more detail with you. But broadly speaking, when you have had a mother who has had a lot of overeating, that has been something that has affected you over quite a long time. And that has been something that has probably affected you from a genetics and from an environmental perspective. So number one, if your mother has been overeating, maybe your mother has had inherited some of the genes from the generation before her, and then you've inherited some of the genes from your mother that has led to your overeating. And number two, if your mother has always been overeating, and that's become the normality inside your household, and there has always been large portion sizes, and there has always been a push to finish your plate, then maybe that has been the normality for you as well, and that has been your environment. Something that we can discuss on the breakthrough call as well is the psychological challenges that can come around eating, which is due to a long period of exposure to that in your environment as well. And this is something that I talk to my Enlighten Me patients about in consultation number 5 after we do the mental health module. So the way that Enlighten Me is set up is the patients normally do the modules inside the Enlighten Me Content Hub, and that prepares them for the consultation. So before they come in for consultation number 1, then they will watch my video on all of the medication options, where they learn about the pros, the cons, the side effects, the costs, the formulation, and then they'll come into that consultation knowing about all of those medication options. In this case, you would be coming into the consultation already knowing about all of these aspects of mental health, and then we would be talking about these things. So we would be talking about, over a long period of time, was there always a push for you to finish your plate? Were you made to feel guilty if you didn't finish your plate, and would that have offended your grandma and it made her feel like you didn't like their cooking? Or were you brought up in an environment where, it was really important to not waste food because your family had been brought up and worked really hard, and the generation before them had been brought up in a lot of poverty? So a lot of these factors can really affect our eating styles and our culture, and it's really ingrained. And a lot of these things can affect the way that we eat, and it can affect ultimately our weight. And some of these things need to be addressed in order for us to be successful when it comes to our weight loss journey. So do go ahead and book that breakthrough call so that we can have that personalized conversation. And I would love to discuss more of that with you.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got another question here. What are your thoughts on using stevia as a sweet replacement? I read that. Who didn't advise using it anymore?
So when it comes to stevia is a plant-based sweetener, which is considered safe. So that one I do usually recommend for patients to use. Mm-hmm. There are a few different types of sugar-based replacements. For example, we have the sugar alcohols, which I usually recommend patients who have IBS type symptoms or problems with gas or flatulence to avoid, because it can worsen their symptoms. And then there are ones like monk fruit or stevia that don't tend to cause any gut upset. The problem with that is that they don't tend to be that sweet, and they also tend to have a bit of a bitter aftertaste, but they can usually be used in drinks and also in baking, which is quite good. The best sweeteners that I believe, and also that Bo has taught me in the weekly nutrition course, is to just use natural sweeteners and use less of them. So to use things like honey and to use things like maple syrup, and when you're baking to use things like ripe bananas, but to just use less of them.
Yeah, fantastic. Manny looks like she's booked in, which is amazing.
I look forward to speaking with you, Manny.
So that's good. I think that is all the questions. Did you want to answer this question?
Yeah, so there was a question from Karen, which was in regards to how much the Enlighten Me program was. I'll explain that to you when you get on the call, because there are a few different options. Some patients do qualify for a Medicare rebate, and some patients do qualify for reimbursement from their private health insurance. So based on your situation, I'll let you know what you qualify for, and we can discuss that on the call.
Fantastic.
You're very welcome.
Looks like we've got to the end of the questions there.
All right. Well, I'll just share some of the feedback that some of the Enlighten Me members have shared with me recently while I wait for any last questions. So one of them told me that I'm a very busy mum and I always put myself last. I decided that it was finally time to put myself first. I prioritize the 2 coaching sessions every week. I can definitely spare time to invest 2 sessions for myself every week. Someone else said, I didn't realize how much I would enjoy coaching and connecting with the group each week. I look forward to seeing everyone and working out together and bouncing off ideas off each other. I could totally do this in the long term. Someone else said, when you taught me about protein, it seemed so simple. My natural instinct was to weigh everything and track everything like I'd been told in the past. I just followed your advice and it's so easy to follow every day. And someone else said, spending money on a new car or a holiday will never compare with how good I feel right now. Waking up happy and healthy, being able to get through my day, being able to move freely and looking at the rainbow on my plate and having joy in what I'm fueling my body with. I think that there was one last question that snuck through.
We have got a question here. How does medication play a part in weight loss?
Yes, so I think there's 2 parts to that question. The standard way of prescribing weight loss medications is you go to the GP and you say, I need help with weight loss, and they pop you on the scales and they see where your BMI fits, and if you have a suitable BMI or if you have a BMI with certain comorbidities, then you will fulfill the criteria and you will get a script. And when you're using the weight loss medication, you will definitely lose weight. And then as soon as you stop taking the weight loss medication, the weight will come back on. So that is the traditional way of using weight loss medications. I feel like a better way of using weight loss medications is using weight loss medications to kickstart your weight loss journey. So the way that I use weight loss medications is I use it to kickstart the patient in their weight loss journey to control the body weight set point from kicking back in. So the body weight set point, just as a side note, the body weight set point is something that kicks in when you've been doing the right things. So when you've been trying to eat less, your body will think that you're about to starve, and so it will try to protect you. It has an instinct survival, and what it's going to do is it's going to dial down your metabolism to try and conserve energy so that you can survive. And so when you have something as little as a carrot or as little as a piece of celery, you're going to gain weight because your body weight set point has turned down your metabolism so slowly that it's very difficult for you to have ongoing weight loss. So in order to control the body weight set point, then you can use medications so that your weight loss journey continues and it doesn't stall. So that's the way that I like to use weight loss medications. I like to use the minimal possible dose for the shortest period of time to just control the body weight set point, while at the same time Also stacking techniques. So remember when I showed you the graph, if you do multiple things at one time, you can get a bigger result than just doing one thing. So if you just used weight loss medication, you'd be able to achieve a certain amount of weight loss. But if you use weight loss medications plus diet, plus exercise, plus coaching for support and accountability, you're obviously going to be able to lose more weight. So what I'm trying to say is that we're just using the weight loss medications to get you started, but at the same time, I'm also seeing you every week. I'm teaching you exactly the skills that you need to be able to eat right and to be able to get into a regular exercise routine so that later on down the track, when you're reaching your goal weight and the weight loss medications are not needed in the long term and we're able to wean them out, you're able to maintain your weight loss in the long term. And that's the beauty of it, because it's kind of like driving a car. When you're first learning how to drive a car, you're thinking about everything. You've got your hands at 10 at 2 o'clock, you're looking in the mirror, and it's a lot of mental effort, and you're exhausted at the end of your driving lesson. And then after about the 3-month mark, it's automatic and you don't even need to think about it. So that's the reason why I have it as a 16-week program, because it literally does take a couple of months for these skills to become automatic. And what I find is that when patients do get close to graduation, so when they do get close to that 16 weeks, they are going into Coles and Woolies. They know exactly what bread to get that is higher in protein, lower in carbohydrates. They know exactly what wraps to get. They know exactly which meal replacement shakes are higher in protein, and they know exactly what types of exercises to do that's going to be really efficient to maintain their weight loss in the long term. So that's the way that I believe that weight loss medications should be used, just to kickstart the process, to get you into a rhythm. And also at the same time, you need to have a strategy to keep the weight loss off in the long term.
Angela, can you explain what the body weight set point is?
Yes, I kind of touched on it just then, but didn't go into too much detail. So the body weight set point is a mechanism that keeps control of our weight, essentially. Now, unfortunately, when we overeat, our body weight set point does not protect us and help us undereat afterwards. So after you go to the buffet and you have a few too many plates, particularly the dessert plates, your body knows that you are surviving just fine, so it will not tell you the next day to eat less. It doesn't work that way. But unfortunately, if you have consistently been eating less calories, so say for example, you're normally eating about 1,200 calories, and then you've been trying to lose weight by cutting your calories, and you're normally having about 800 calories each day. Your body knows exactly what's going on, and it thinks that you're about to not survive, and it's trying to protect you from starvation. So it's going to turn down your metabolism. How is it doing that? Well, the first thing is it turns down your metabolic rate. It tries to conserve energy, and it also reduces the amount of skeletal muscle contractions as well. And it also means that it's going to make it harder for you to lose weight when you're doing the same things in the future. So in the future, when you're having the smallest amount of calories, like when you're just having a carrot, you're not necessarily going to be able to lose weight, even though that carrot doesn't weigh very much and doesn't contain much calories at all. So that's the body weight set point in a nutshell for you.
Very good. Angela, you are such a wealth of knowledge. Every time I hear you speak, I always learn something new, and I've just learned something new again. Fantastic.
Well, thank you everyone for your time and participation tonight. We had some great questions tonight, didn't we?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, I hope that tonight's talk was insightful and enlightening. Do keep in touch with me in the Medical Weight Loss for Australians Facebook group. And to those who have booked in a weight loss breakthrough call, I'll speak with you soon. Thank you, Michelle, for joining me tonight.
Thank you, Angela. It's always a pleasure. Thank you, everybody. Amazing to see so many people join us this evening, and everybody watching the replay. We thank you for your time, and we will see you again soon. Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.